So we got a big trade. The Sixers are trading Al Horford, a 2025 lightly protected first round pick, and a second round pick, which is the 34th pick in this year's draft, to the Thunder for Danny Green and Terrance Ferguson. Let's get into my thoughts of this trade. For the Thunder in this deal, I like this deal for them. I think they could have gotten a little bit more because they are taking on Al Horford's contract, which there are 3 more years left on that deal. And even that last year is $14 million guaranteed. I should mention, that last year that deal is non-guaranteed. But $14 million of it is guaranteed. So it's not like, $3.8 million are guaranteed. It's like a significant chunk of it is guaranteed. So yeah, they could have gotten a little bit more. You kind of are rolling the dice by getting a 2025 first round pick. Because you don't really know what's going to be available. Like, you don't know what that Sixers roster is going to look like in 2025. They do have Ben Simmons under contract at $38 million. Assuming you do keep Ben Simmons all 5 years of his contract, you do have a All-NBA player on that roster. So, they're going to be pretty good. It's slightly protected, and it's probably going to be like top 1, top 3 protected, something like that. With Al Horford's contract, you could have gotten another first round pick out of this deal. That 34th pick that they got, the second rounder, it's technically a first round. It's not really a first rounder, but you can get a first round prospect with that pick because it's only 4 spots out of the 30th pick in this draft. And this draft is deep. There's like 44 guys, or when I did the mock, I saw 44 picks that could be first rounders potentially, or have first round talent at least. So I do think that this is a good deal for the Thunder, but they definitely could have gotten a lot more. Also, in the deal, the Thunder got a European player called Vicious Makis. And according to Woj, he's one of the top point guards in Europe. And I'm reading on the Twitter timelines and stuff. Yeah, everyone kind of agrees. He's a pretty good European player. Don't expect him to make a huge impact on this Thunder team. Just because he's 26 and he's still playing in Europe. Obviously, he could still come over, but there's been, everything I'm reading, there's no, he's going to play next season on their team and all that other stuff. I don't really think he's going to make that much of an impact on this deal. But in summary for the Thunder, I thought this was a pretty good deal. They definitely could have gotten more if they were going to trade for Horford. And, they will flip Horford eventually, either this season or next season. But I do think they could have gotten more in this deal. Let's get to the Sixers side of this. The Sixers got an amazing deal here. I love this deal for the Sixers. They got Danny Green, who, sure, he has some shooting struggle. He had a shooting struggle last year, but he's a pretty good 3-and-D wing. Put more emphasis on the defense. He's really good defensively. From the 3, he had a little bit of a struggle this year, but he still was a pretty good 3-and-D wing last year. And they got Terrance Ferguson, who again he's struggled a little bit in his last 2 years. But in his first 2 years, he had a lot of promise. He was very athletic. He looked like he could be a really good defender. Obviously, you're gonna have to resign him past this year because he only has a 1-year deal. But they basically just wiped their hands clean of the Horford contract. There is the factor that they kind of just gave a first round pick off into the future, and that could come back to haunt them. But I do think this was a really good deal. The Thunder will gain $8 million on the cap, and the Sixers will gain $8.1 million, or they will lose $8.1 million due to this trade. These Sixers still have cap space. They are below the tax, I think. Yeah. But yeah, this is a huge news. But in summary, the Sixers are able to get off that Horford contract where Horford was just not fitting with their team. So it's an amazing trade for them. And they also got a nice wing in Danny Green, and maybe if they, Terrance Ferguson can pull like a comeback, maybe he can, be pretty good for him, pretty good for them as well. And for the Thunder, this is a good trade, not great. They just could have gotten a lot more for Al Horford, for taking on Al Horford's contract, especially because they were giving back expirings, and that's really it. And there was another news. The Bogdan Bogdanovic, he's that Bucks deal is in that's in limbo because the contract they didn't agree to a contract, so that's in limbo. Now I mentioned that in another video I talk about that in the Bucks video. But yeah, that's another thing that's going on. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.